Thank you for joining me on the Get What You Want podcast, where getting what you want isn't always what you think it is. My wish for you is that this show will create an awareness within yourself of what you really want and the possibility of getting it. Let's go create. My guest today is Rhoberta Shaler, PhD. The relationship help doctor provides urgent and ongoing care for relationships in crisis. Her mission is to provide the insights, information, and inspiration for clients and audiences to transform relationships with themselves and other humans to be honest, respectful, and safe in all ways. Even the United States Marines have sought her help. Dr. Shaler focuses on helping the partners, exes, and adult children of the relentlessly difficult, toxic people she calls hijackals to stop the crazy making and save their insanity. Author of 16 books, including Escaping the Hijackal Trap and Stop, That's Crazy Making, she hosts the internationally popular podcast, Save Your Sanity, Help for Toxic Relationships. Her YouTube channel for relationship help has reached over 360,000 views. Welcome, Rhoberta.
Thanks so much. It's a joy to be with you, Shirley.
Thank you. Obviously, this is the Get What You Want podcast, and I feel that sometimes we think that getting what we want is just moving forward and moving into something, and a lot of getting what we want is getting out of something. And I feel like I've been in this myself, and I'm grateful to be out of it. And so this is such an important message that you have today, and I'm super excited to talk about getting out of something so that we can move into something that we want.
Well, it's a great thing to do because sometimes those obstacles that we have that will always keep us from what we want are things that we have to clear from our lives. And toxic relationships, they tend to linger, they tend to hang around. We tend to make excuses or justifications or rationalizations for the behavior, and we really get stuck. So it's a good thing to talk about.
Oh, for sure. I know myself, and I have a lot of friends who have experienced this kind of thing. And when you're in it, you feel, at least I felt like I was doing something wrong. Like I had to possibly be doing something wrong to have this person be that way. And specifically talking about narcissism, I know that narcissism is very overdiagnosed, and I know that some people actually have a clinical diagnosis and some people just exhibit narcissistic behavior. But can you talk a little bit about that and how that type of diagnosis can really be a toxic relationship?
Well, yes, and let's be really, really clear. Most people who actually have narcissistic personality disorder will never go near anyone who would diagnose them.
Right.
So the people who are overdiagnosing, in quotes, are the people who are rushing off to the internet, putting in what's happening to them, and then the internet, not being a mental health professional, being an index, spits back the term narcissist or sociopath or psychopath or borderline. And then you think, oh, that's a diagnosis. It isn't. It's a description. And that's actually why I created the term hijackal. So people would have a term that they could use that was talking about the patterns, traits, cycles, behaviors of these people rather than a clinical diagnosis, because you can't make one unless you're a mental health professional. And it doesn't help. And the second reason I created it is when people go and hear that or read that on the internet, then they think it's that other person's problem. And yet there you are in relationship with them. So it's a shared problem.
Oh, I love that so much, because in my book and what I teach a lot about is how we're being in our relationship and how that affects everything else that goes on in our relationship, how we are part of the creation of it. I was on a morning show once, we were talking about narcissism for some reason, and I've written a few articles on it, and really it is that, like, I do believe that it's something so different than what we think it is. And so we do throw that at the other person. They're like, oh, well, they're a narcissist, so, it's always going to be like this, or it's always going to be that. And so talk about hijackals. I heard I listened to one of your podcasts years ago, and I just fell in love with this whole term. And I feel that I quote you all the time, and I don't know all the way about it. So I want to become more of an expert on that, because I want to help people that are in these relationships to realize that they can get out of them, and then there is a way to end it, if you will. And so, yeah, just talk a little bit about that, and maybe even tell me your story and how you discovered this and how you became the expert at this.
Well, that'll take a few days. But let me talk about hijackals. I mean, the reason I created the term, as I said, is we needed something to describe what was going on, not a diagnosis. And what a hijackal is a person who hijacks relationships for their own purposes and then proceeds to relentlessly scavenge them for power, status, and control. So if you have a parent or a partner, an ex, a sibling who is constantly wanting you to be at their behest, that what they want is more important than anything that you might have to say, want, need, think, then you are in a relationship with a hijackal in all probability. And you really need to understand that. So when you're with one of these difficult people, they have to win. You know, you can't be right. You simply can't be right, because they have to be the top of the pile. They have to be the smartest person in the room. They honestly think they're the master puppeteer. They're manipulating everybody, and they think they're so smart. They think nobody else notices what they're up to. So these are very important things, and that's my definition of a hijackal. That's why I trademarked the term. That's why I write about it, talk about it, all of that, to keep us from those diagnoses. And sure, all the things we talk about are characteristics of people who are narcissistic, borderline, sociopath, psychopath, histrionic, and all of those people are passive aggressive too.
So explain to me what passive aggressive is. I know, I've lived with that, and it's almost worse than aggressive to me, like being with
Oh, sure.
somebody who's passive aggressive, and just the energy that just consumes the entire room. But explain to our listeners a little bit more, so if they're experiencing this feeling, that they may be able to understand a little bit of what is going on with that. Because I know that in my past relationship where I dealt with this, he appeared to be very kind and but everything was self-serving. So he was very outwardly kind, but the passive aggressiveness caused so much underneath that was just boiling all the time.
Well, there's two parts to what you just described, Shirley. So first of all, I'll answer your question. Passive aggressive is when people do behaviors that are actually not addressing what's going on. So they will say something like, sure, I'll do that for you, knowing full well they have no intention of doing it, but they don't want to have the conflict with you in the moment. So they push it off and they wait to see if you come back to them and you're angry, and because they didn't do it. And then when they didn't do it and you're angry, they tell you you were unreasonable to expect them to do it or to ask them to do it. So it's one of those situations where you think you're making nice and you're having an agreement, or you can believe the word of the person, but they're just avoiding any kind of clarity in the moment because they're afraid of it. They don't want to deal with it. So they push it off. Passive aggressive things, here's one. You know, you're talking to someone who's passive aggressive, and you may not know it, but you will after I tell you this. You're talking to someone and you're having a little discussion that things haven't been going so well, and you're expounding on your feelings. And the passive aggressive person says to you, I'm so sorry you're offended by that.
Yes.
And at that moment, you want to go, what? I mean, are you taking no responsibility for this? Are you not engaging with me? Are you not hearing me? Do you not care? I mean, all of that comes up for you, and that person just thinks they handled it. I'm sorry you're offended. At that moment, I mean, you just want to smack somebody, don't you? But don't do that. but that's the inclination that you have. Like, you just missed the point entirely of what I want to talk to you about, and you dismissed me in 6 words, you know? And that's passive aggressive. That's that feeling you were talking about, that you just got punched and you're not quite sure what happened. And that's why I wrote Stop That's Crazy Making, How to Quit Playing the Passive Aggressive Game. It's a
Oh,
download, it's an ebook. Really understand that. I've written lots of articles and lots of YouTube videos on passive aggression. So really understand it. Listen to this stuff over and over until you really get it so that you can go, oh, that was passive aggressive. And then there's no point blaming a passive aggressive person. You just simply, when you start to recognize it coming at you, you say, no, the reason I'm sharing what I'm sharing with you is that your behavior affected me, and I just want you to know how we could make that different. So you come from that authentic place of speaking about yourself. You know, when I wrote Kaizen for Couples, it's in there that I discuss my formula for personal weather report. It's really good to learn it because you want to feel super confident in your communication and super clean in your communication. You don't want to get into the blaming. You don't want to get into playing their game. You don't want to do that. You want to be coming from your thoughts, your feelings, your needs, your wants, your preferences. Don't talk about them at all.
I love how you say that, because I feel like when you come from that place of wanting to win, you never win. You just feel more crazy. And I would always like visualize it as someone punching me in the face and then getting upset with me for bleeding. And like, I just remember thinking, like, I don't understand. You are the one that hurt me, yet I'm getting in trouble for you for reacting, right? For being offended by you hurting me. And I find that a very common thing when I hear about these relationships in men and women. Like I find that as common as they just are like, I don't understand. They somehow they twist it and they have these magical words to put it and blame it right back on you. And so I remember that feeling. And I think that I was most attracted to listening to you when I saw something about crazy making, because it really feels like that. Like it really feels like you're going crazy, because you're like, I said the sky was blue. You said, no, it's not. It's yellow. So then I agree with you that it's yellow. And then you say, no, it's blue. And then I feel crazy. And I remember that constant feeling of, I can never win. And so then what I started to do was to kind of back off and not even try to win anymore. And then and that's where I think that like kind of hijacking of your soul comes in. It's like they control the entire relationship. And it is super toxic. So if someone was to come to you and say, I am stuck in this, because I know for a fact that there's so many people stuck in this, what is the first thing do you first kind of walk through to make sure that's really what it is? Or like, what's the first thing that you would do?
Well, first of all, I listen to them tell me their story, tell me what's going on, tell me how they feel. And, I can kind of use the checklist in my head to say, oh, okay, I've just heard 13 hijackal behaviors here. So then I'll ask some questions. I'll ask how they respond, what they do. And then the next big question is, what is the result you want?
Mm.
Because it's a big question, Shirley. Sometimes the age of children, sometimes finances, sometimes many things will change the plan for making a decision about whether to stay or go.
Mm.
So I need to ask all of those questions. Then I want to know, did you have a hijackal parent? Because if you did, one of two things are going to happen. Either you will have a tendency to be a hijackal, or you'll become hijackal bait. You will have been groomed to put up with this nonsense, and you will be uncomfortably comfortable with it because it's familiar. So if that's in your background, then we have to say, okay, let's look at where these patterns began, and then what can you do? What are your next best steps? Like, I like what you said, I stopped jumping into the crazy making. If it's going to be a game of one-upmanship and you're always going to be right, then I'm not going to play. Basically, that's what you said.
Yeah.
And then he said, oh, there's no game here. The girl's not got any game. I'm angry. Now I'm angry. What you got? What you got? What you got? Right?
Yeah.
And the hijackal wants you to engage so they can squash you. So when you don't engage, great strategy. Like, if you don't care what they think about you, you're on your way to greater health.
Are you feeling stuck in your relationship? Do you feel you need more? Whether it be more time, attention, security, gifts, intimacy, or companionship, your partner is likely experiencing something similar. Yet both of you are not sure how to fix it. In Shirley Baldwin's best-selling book, Get What You Want From Your Man, she will show you how to get all of this and more. Get What You Want From Your Man is available nationwide through all major bookstores, Amazon.com, and through her website, www.getwhatyouwantguru.com.
Yes. And also, I found that as I cared less, because I used to get so triggered and be angry, and that anger doesn't live in me very well. So when I stopped caring, then I started searching for ways out. So for me, that was the answer. Was not that it was easy, because it wasn't easy, but so I also know people, like I got out and got into a healthy relationship, and because I feel like I was kind of blindsided by that. I don't know. I'm sure that I allowed it, and I had a lot of the creation in it because I enabled him to be that way. But I have some clients and some friends who are even out of that relationship, but somehow that person is still hooking them and holding on to them. So can you speak into that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, remember, to a hijackal, you are not the love of their life. You're the current supply.
Mm.
So they're always having supply. They've got the current supply, they've got the past supply, they've got the supply that they're grooming, or the side hustles that they've got going on. So they're always grooming supply. These are charming people. They've got people at work. They've got people they see at the coffee shop. They've got that going on. They're grooming some new ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got all of that going on. So they want to keep you in the supply chain. That's the deal. So you reject them, and they're angry about that. Nobody rejects me. I'm the king of the hill or the queen of the hill. And just on that regard, there are equal number of male and female
Yes.
hijackals. They just present differently. So they don't like it. They don't like it when you stand up to them. They don't like it when you don't care about them. They don't like it when you don't do what they want you to do. And they don't like it if you don't engage in the fight. So when you step back from all that, and maybe you discard them, maybe you move away from them, maybe you say no more, at that moment, you then are putting their supply chain in jeopardy. So that's why they keep being the gift that keeps on giving, right? They keep coming back, they keep texting, and they try different things like, "Hi babe, how are you?" Meaning like, "Hey, isn't this great?"
Yes.
And if you go, "Oh, I don't have a relationship in my life. I wonder, oh, that's nice to hear." Then
Yes.
you will fall into the trap of believing their press that they showed you at the beginning of the relationship, which is the phase that we call love bombing. They're going to be who you want them to be. They're going to be a chameleon. They will fit. They will do everything. And then they want to do it in the shortest possible amount of time because it's not real. Till they, as I wrote in Escaping the Hijackal Trap, there's a whole chapter on the gotcha factor. They want to get you as fast as possible. That means hook you into love, hook you into some kind of commitment, living together, having a baby together. A hijackal will say things to you like, "Do you know, as soon as I saw your photo on that dating site, I just knew I was going to marry you."
Yes.
And at that moment, you got to go, "Really?" But
Right.
if you're flattered, okay, game on, right?
Right. Wow. There's so much to that. And I teach how to be in or be healthy in a relationship. You teach how to be healthy in an unhealthy relationship. So we're kind of like on the same thing, just doing different parts of it. And I so I've come to you, I've identified that I'm in a toxic relationship, and I've identified that the other person is the hijackal. but I haven't really identified what I'm doing to, what is my part. So how do you so for me, I have the same thing, like, you're not getting what you want out of your relationship. Are you doing your part? Like, what is your part in this? And so I feel like a lot of people, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to like immediately hear that they're the problem. And so I will, kind of meet them where they're at, because I've been there and I know what that feels like, and then take them on a kind journey out of that. But what is it that you do, and how do you approach that when you realize that the person that wants to stop the hijackal really has a huge part in it?
Well, they all have a huge part in it because they're enabling or condoning the behavior till the minute they decide to stop. And they're doing it mostly unconsciously. Like I said, if you were raised in a hijackal home, or there was abuse or childhood emotional neglect or something like that, then you're looking for something. You're looking to belong. You're looking to have somebody tell you you're valuable. And they love that, because then you become dependent on them for your self-worth.
Yeah.
So if you've woken up and said, hey, I'm going to smell the herbal tea here, this is not okay with me, I don't want this anymore, then yes, you're going to say, okay, up until this minute, I've been making it okay. Even though I've been complaining or crying or leaving or, getting angry, somehow it's been okay enough with me. And I'm declaring right now, it isn't. How do I change from here on out? And I always tell people, first of all, do your own work. Unless there's physical or sexual violence, then take the time to do your own work. Because sometimes people will call me and they'll say, I can't do it another minute. I'm just going to leave with the clothes on my back and take the kids and be glad. And no, please don't do that. Don't do that. If there isn't physical or sexual violence, don't do that, because you will not get your fair share. And the court will not see that well. So it's very important to, what I call, prepare and practice. You need to practice new skills yourself so that you come into your own, that you feel empowered, that you have good communication and conflict management skills that you have learned and tried out on the hijackal, so that you can practice, you can see what works, what doesn't work, if there's a little bit of movement, if the hijackal backs off, or what they will do. But you are empowering yourself. I teach you how to empower yourself in that situation. And then that's part of the preparation for making the decision. Are you going to stay, or are you going to go? So many factors: age of children, money, family, culture, all of that, spiritual beliefs, so many things to consider. No one size fits all answer. And then we start doing what we need to do to prepare to move on, if that's what we're going to do. Or how to set boundaries and things within the relationship, to see the best ways to set boundaries that you're heard, or the best way to hold a boundary if you haven't been heard. That's practice. And you're definitely going to need it when you get out of the relationship, if you get out of it, but even more so, you're going to need it if you stay. I don't know what the right answer is for anyone, but you are going to need help to see it, because you're in it and you can't see it when you're in it. So that's how I help people move forward. They need to learn what to practice it, and then prepare to make the decision, and then prepare to act on the decision.
I love that. I feel like oftentimes we think that we have to make a decision right now, and it's black and white. We have to be in or out, or stay or go. And the more clients that I work with, the more people, the more I learn about life, the more I realize there's like 50 decisions in between the stay or go. And so I love that you say that, because I do think that you become a lot stronger of a person on the other side of it when you're doing your own work. And
who wants to be that person, Shirley, who got out with the clothes on their back and their children, cowering in a studio apartment with 5 children, saying, now what?
Yes.
I mean, if you don't have skills, if you don't have insights, if you haven't strengthened yourself, if you don't feel empowered or confident or know that you can communicate clearly and you're not afraid of what to do and say, you know how to handle the court, you know how to choose an attorney, you know what to do with the police reports. You have to know all of that. And I take my clients through all of that so they're totally empowered. You just don't want to be that person who says, oh, I'm out. And you look around and say, and I have nothing. And I am so worn out, torn down, put down, disempowered. I don't even know if I can make breakfast. You don't want to be that.
No, because I think that that thing in itself makes you the prey for the next hijackal.
That's exactly right, because they're predators and they're looking for people who have been groomed. And groomed means that they can swoop in and be your hero.
Yes.
So in that love bombing phase, they love to do that. And if you're in a relationship with them for very long, here's how they do it. They create a terrible problem that really makes you feel awful. And when they get you feeling really awful, then they swoop in and they become the comfort. Oh, I'm so sorry. Honey, come here. Let me look after you. And that's what creates trauma bonding. Is they create the disaster, then they swoop in and be the answer, the hero. And then you think, oh, yes, that person is the person I thought they were. Because every single person who's with a hijackal, in my opinion, is hooked on hope that the person they met is the real person and that person's coming back if they can only find the formula to be who they need them to be so that the hijackal will relax and feel loved and secure. And you are going to make yourself into a pretzel and a doormat doing that, and they are not going to ever feel loved and secure. One of the hallmarks of a hijackal is the inability to ever reach that point of satisfaction where they feel loved, secure, stable, relaxed, and don't have to keep pressing their edge.
Wow, that makes so much sense. So much clarity from that. So if you were to give our listeners today one word of advice, I know that there are people listening thinking either I'm that or I'm with that. And what would be your one thing that you would give them that would be advice that they could start today to move forward or backwards?
The one piece of advice that is absolutely essential is my ABB formula. And it's really something that most people with hijackals don't want to do because they're so used to making excuses and rationalizations, justifications for the hijackal. Oh, they're tired. Oh, they're stressed. Oh, they're out of work. Oh, they drink too much. But it's because, all that. You need to follow ABB. Ready?
I'm ready.
Always believe behavior.
Wow.
I had a woman come into my office one day. I don't have an office anymore because my clients are all over the world, but she came in. She had a big red mark on her face. And I said, what happened? She said, he hit me. But I know he loves me. I said, how do you know he loves you? 3 weeks ago, he brought me flowers. Oh, so 3 weeks ago, he hit you and then he felt badly because you weren't speaking to him and he brought you flowers. Yeah. And he told me he loved me. I said, this is not a love tap. Always believe behavior. A man who loves you doesn't hit you. Believe the behavior, not the story you want to buy into, the way you wish it were, the way you hope you can create it. Always believe the behavior in front of you. Always believe your own behavior too, because you may be giving yourself mixed messages, but always believe behavior.
Wow. That is, you would think that it would just be logical that we would think that, but that is such remarkable advice. I think about that because the one thing that I believe that people that are in that place, the hijackal space, is that they're so good with their words. Like they can win you back in a few words and make you forgive and forget. But it covers up that. It's like a Band-Aid all the time. And so I love that advice. That is so important. I'm going to remember that. I don't know what possibly this question could have to relate to you, because I ask it to all of my guests. But is there anything looking back in your life that you feel that you would do over, or that you regret?
Well, not anything I could have done anything about, because I was raised by two hijackal parents and I'm an only child. So, maybe a different family would have been nice. I don't think I can do anything about that. But what it gave me, because I was clear that they were not operating from anything healthy when I was very young. So, really, no. I mean, the things that I wish and what I help my clients do is to see it way earlier. I mean,
Mm.
I knew something was off, but what is it? And then, of course, because I was raised in a hijackal family, I married a hijackal, I went off to counseling. And this is what happens, Shirley, when you go to counseling, is you as the non-hijackal go to counseling because you want to have the situation seen. You want someone else to see what's going on. The hijackal goes to counseling in order to manipulate, deceive, seduce, and exploit the therapist into coming over to their side, which is why you have to work with somebody who is experienced in the field of hijackals and toxic people, because otherwise they will use the same thing they use with most people is, well, let's manage your communication. Let's see how you treat each other. And pretty soon, he will have, or she will, whoever the hijackal is, will have move the therapist to the place of saying, well, if only you would communicate, or if only you would recognize his or her needs. And you walk out of there going, what happened? I just got hit again.
Yes, I have seen that so many times. I've heard it, I've seen it, I've been in it. I get that.
So if I could change anything, I would have woken up to it a little earlier, which is why I do it. I have clients now. I'm so excited. And because I have some clients who are in their 20s and they're waking up,
Oh, wow.
and certainly the couple will come and we'll work things through and find out what's real, which is wonderful. But, mostly people are very busy getting an education, choosing a career, deciding the right thing to do is get in a relationship, buy a house, have a family. And by the time you actually wake up and smell the herbal tea and go, hey, this is not working very well. I feel anxious every single day. I'm walking on eggshells, which is a terrible way to get your
Mm.
exercise. You're hypervigilant, all of that. That's the moment when you need help, and you need very experienced, specialized help. It's not general help. And that's important to know. So if I could change anything, I guess I would have recognized it earlier and started helping myself earlier.
Yeah.
But there was no help for me. So I developed all the things that I help people with, and have been doing it for a long time now.
That's amazing. So how do we get in touch with you? Tell
Well,
me,
there you go.
yeah, right there.
forrelationshiphelp.com, right there on the screen. And there's so much there. You'll find my podcast, Save Your Sanity, or you can go to saveoursanitypodcast.com. And my YouTube channel has the same name as my website. So the YouTube channel is For Relationship Help. I also have a membership program for people who want to be safely off social media. So when you go to forrelationshiphelp.com, click on circles, and you'll see that I have 2 levels of membership program there. And that software, what I'm really excited about it, Shirley, is completely on my website. Nobody can get to it who isn't a member. Nobody can see a thing who isn't a member. And as part of that membership at the Growth Circle level, people get to come on Saturdays from 10 to 11 to my Saturday support sessions as part of their membership. Now, other people can do that for $25. They can come over and just come one time. And it's limited to 24 people a Saturday, so you have to pre-register by 4 o'clock on Friday. So there's a whole lot of things available to you. And if you want to work with me directly, of course, go to forrelationshiphelp.com, or I have an introductory offer, a full 1 hour for $97, and you find that at beaclient.com.
That's awesome. I will put all of those links on my website in our show notes. And I'm so grateful for you being here today you offer so much help and inspiration, and I love the community of your Saturdays. I think that would be really helpful to people that may not have anyone else to talk to about it. So thank you so much. You're amazing, and I'm so grateful that you are my guest today.
Thank you so much, and I'm delighted with the work you do, and I wish you well with it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to the Get What You Want podcast. If you loved it, please subscribe, share it with others, and leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also visit me on my website at www.getwhatyouwantguru.com. Would love to hear from you. Now go create.